All right, we're live. And today, hey, we're talking about renting in Costa Rica. And so I'm going to give you some really great tips, money saving ideas, things that you can do because renting in Costa Rica, not at all like it is if you're renting in the United States or maybe in the country you're coming from. So, hey, we're going to have a whole lot of fun, but real quick, let me know how's the audio sound. Let me know how's the visuals. As you can see, we're actually in my new rental. I've only been here since the beginning of the month. And hey, this rental is completely different from the other 12 or 13 rentals that I've been in. And we'll talk about that. But because my vehicle is broke down, I moved my studio over into this bedroom because it didn't echo so much because I don't have any furniture here. Because, of course, this is just a temporary place right here. But anyway, we can talk about all that later. But, hey, make sure that while you're here, hit that like button. Comment because your engagement is just extremely helpful. So, hey, let's get into it. Remember, we're talking about renting a house in Costa Rica and what you should do to save some money, avoid the Gringo Price. And remember, look, this is always based on my perspective. Now, look, been here since November 2013, lived in like 14 different houses. Every single rental house that I've lived in, guess what? The experience was the same. So I'm not telling you that, hey, look, based on my limited experience of one or two houses, no, I've rented a bunch of them and the experience has been the same every time. But hopefully your experience is going to be better. But you can learn from my experience in order to save you some money. Find the right house. And hey, where's the best place to actually get that? Well, I actually have a very good PDF that you can download. And that PDF download is the link is in the description below. Hey, you put your name and email in there. Promise you won't get spam, so you don't have to immediately unsubscribe. The only time you get an email from me is letting you know that, look, hey, we're going to have this broadcast, or look, important, Costa Rica changed this, and you need to know, because I might not have time to actually do a live. So, hey, let me know, are we looking good? Are we sounding good? Welcome as you're coming in. So looking so forward to having everybody interact with me and talk to me. Let me know how things are going. So, hey, real quick, first question. And remember now, I'm going to go through a whole list of questions that I have. And so put your questions in the chat box, but I'm going to make sure to answer every single question. And, once we get done talking about renting in Costa Rica, if you have just some general topics about anything and everything, no question is sacred. So, hey, thanks for everybody that's saying hello. So glad that you're here. And let me know, is the audio sound good? Is it echoing? You can see that I'm in a bedroom here. You can see some of my groceries back here. And that was intentional so that the audio didn't bounce off the walls, okay? So, first question. A lot of people ask, well, what is the best time of the year to find a good rental? Okay. And I guess really to get the best price on a rental. Well, obviously the best time to get the best price on a rental is going to be during the rainy season. And here we are in October. October is usually the worst rainy season time ever because we're at the very end of rainy season. And rainy season kind of just, it starts off kind of real casual and then it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. It's really not bad at all. A lot of people make rainy season sound like it's awful, but hey, rainy season is not awful because it normally doesn't start raining until, noon or 2 o'clock. Usually stops at dark. Of course, that does vary a little bit depending on what eco-climate you're in, okay? But October, almost always the heaviest time of the season. So it usually starts raining. Let me get my bearings right because, it's usually for most places, it's 6 months of dry season, 6 months of rainy season. Usually the dry season starts in November. So anytime between November, December, January, February, March, April, okay, those 6 months, if you're trying to rent, it's usually going to be very expensive unless now you are in rural areas, you're down where there's not a lot of tourists, then the prices normally stay about the same. But hey, look, I'm over here in Playa Hermosa, and look, the prices here might double in the next 6 months. So in the next 6 months, that's high season, lots of tourists, and prices can be crazy. So you want to be looking for a rental prior to that if you're going to be anywhere in the city or anywhere near there's touristy areas, okay? So that's when you want to arrange finding your rental. Now, when you first come to Costa Rica, if you've never been here before, seems like every time I come over, it never failed. My flight came in late and I'm traveling at night. So whatever you do, your first rental is always going to be usually an Uber, a taxi, or, you can rent a vehicle from the airport. Now, here's something for you to think about. Whenever you are real quickly renting a vehicle, hey, if I were you, before you come, go to Airbnb.com, download the app, make sure that you download the Uber app, and make sure you download the Waze app. Have those 3 apps already on your phone. You will thank me later. You'll be like, Alan, got to buy you lunch. Man, I could not believe I had to have Waze to get around. And man, having that Airbnb app, was able to get to my place. And, having, that, Airbnb, Uber, and Waze. Get those, okay? So anyway, before you even come, you're coming, go to Airbnb.com and then look at your rentals. If you're going to, Airbnb is a great place. Usually rentals are a little higher there, but it's very difficult if you're coming here and let's say you're just going to be here a week. If you're going to be here a week, okay, rent that thing for a week and you can find a really nice place. Everything is furnished. Everything is there. Makes life so much easier because you can get there. Then you can get your vehicle, right? Well, if you take an Uber there and then you can go to one of the local rental places for a vehicle, might be a little bit better than picking up a rental at the airport. I don't find it's that big of a difference, but renting a vehicle long-term can be crazy, crazy expensive, okay? So you want to make sure that because it's so expensive, here's a tip. If you're going to come here long-term, let's say 1 month, well, I don't know about 1 month, but even 1 month, you try to rent a vehicle for 1 month, it's expensive. But if you're going to be here 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months, best thing to do, first thing you do is get to your Airbnb and then walk around, go into town, get you an Uber, go to the local, any of the used car dealerships. If you go to the used car dealerships, look around, you can find you a decent, it might be old, but you can find a decent and dependable vehicle for $5,000, okay, $6,000. Buy that sucker, okay? Now, yeah, you're going to have to spend a day buying this thing, but buy it and then enjoy it, have a great time. You're like, but Alan, that's $4,000 or $5,000. I'm only going to be here a month. Yep, but at the end of the month, you turn around and sell that vehicle back to the same guy you bought it from. Don't tell him you're going to do this, okay? Buy it, sell it back to him, or sell it to another car dealership. Now, you're going to probably lose about $1,000 whenever you sell it back to him because obviously he's going to want to make a profit. But think about this. If you're here for 1 month and you've sold it back to him and you've only lost $1,000, you've paid $1,000 to rent that vehicle, which is going to be far cheaper than paying $1,000, $3,000 or $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 rental. You try renting a vehicle for 3 months and it's insane, the price. So that is a huge, huge, huge tip. So, and I've known some of my followers, subscribers who've done that exact thing. Come here, buy a vehicle from a car lot, turn around and resell it. Or if you look up and find a vehicle from a local, but it's easier just to go to a car lot, buy it, sell it back. So that's tip number one. That's going to be extremely important for you, okay? Because you got to have transportation. You don't have to, but if you're looking for a rental, it's difficult looking for a rental if you're looking other than just in town, okay? So if you know that you can stay at Airbnb, especially if you're going to, let's say it's going to be for 1 month. If you go to Airbnb, you can schedule out for 1 month in case you didn't know. And then you can find Airbnbs that are open to long-term rentals. I knew that I was going to be in this area for this build site for, about, 90 days, then a lot longer. But anyway, so I just went to Airbnb and I looked for anything that was open for a month. And that way you get a much, much better price. You'll get, less than half the regular price. And then I go talk to the person, and then I can deal with them and sometimes get it even cheaper than what they're putting on Airbnb. So, the place that, the last place I was staying at cost me $500 and it was tiny, but it was $500, but it was furnished. This place, well, it's 2-bedroom. It's much, much nicer. It's still very Tico. And we'll talk about that. But it's $600, but empty. So that means you got to put stuff in it. And I really didn't want to have to put stuff in it, but it was just way better to be here than where I was with Nikki off the highway, a lot of other things. Okay. So anyway, my point is on Airbnb, you can find long-term rentals, but those long-term rentals are going to be expensive. Like I said, I'm $600 where I'm at. I could rent practically a mansion down by San Vito in southern Costa Rica for that same price. Okay. Because down in San Vito, I rented anywhere from less than $100 a month to $300 a month was the average rental. And look, almost anywhere in Costa Rica, I've never spent more than $300 a month to live in a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house. Most houses, now keep in mind, I'm always renting a Tico house. So let's just talk real quick the difference between a Tico house and a house that maybe a gringo or a foreigner owns. And it was built at a much higher standard. You know, almost every single Tico house, very few Tico houses outside the San Jose metropolitan area, okay? Because I don't live in the touristy areas and I don't normally live in the city areas, okay? 99% of the Tico houses are going to have 1 bathroom, okay? They don't need 2, 1 bathroom. Most of them are going to be a 2-bedroom. Some will have 3-bedroom, okay? But when you rent a Tico style house, it's going to be a whole lot cheaper, especially if you follow some of the tips I'm going to give you. But most of the time when you rent a Tico house, you're renting walls. That's all you're renting. You're renting walls. You're not renting closets because the majority of them don't have closets, okay? If you kind of notice right there, I have this very cheap cloth closet right here that I had to go buy at the Maxi Pallet because they don't build closets in the Tico houses, okay? For most of them, you have to go buy some sort of closet system, okay? So when you rent a Tico house, the majority of the Tico houses that I have rented didn't even have a kitchen sink. I'm telling you, when you rent Tico houses, most of them, you're renting the walls, okay? And I had to actually install the kitchen sink in a bunch of them. And their kitchens don't have cabinets at the top. They don't even have cabinets at the bottom. And even this one, now this one here that I'm in at $600 a month, the kitchen, there's not a single cabinet in the kitchen, okay? There's no shelves, but the countertop is made out of concrete, which I hate, but there's a concrete countertop there. And so there's no shelves and there's nothing underneath it, which makes it very difficult. So in order to rent this, just like this right here, I had to go buy a bunch of shelves, and I'm using those shelves to put my pots and my pans and all of that stuff. Well, obviously, if there's no cabinets at the top, it's very difficult, you know. So it's important to understand that when you're renting a Tico house, it's very, very, very different. You're renting the walls. That's what you're renting. You won't find refrigerators. You won't find washers and dryers. You won't find stoves in there. There's nothing. You're renting walls. You will have to fill it up, okay? Now, if you're renting a gringo house, a foreigner house, obviously that house has been built. They understand it's different. Some of those houses will have refrigerators and a stove in it, okay? Probably not a washer and dryer. Almost nobody has a dryer. Now, wealthier people that just simply are not going to hang their clothes out there are going to have a dryer. But, you know, I say, while I don't have any facts to back this up, I just know from experience, hey, 99% of the Ticos don't have a dryer. They're putting their clothes on the rocks, on the fence, on the tree bushes, you know, because a lot of them don't even put up a clothesline. Some of them do, a lot of them do. But anyway, so most people don't have dryers, and that's simply because the cost of electricity is crazy, crazy, crazy high. The more you use, the more expensive it gets, which is opposite from, you know, the United States. So anyway, understand that if you rent an American style home, then you could easily rent $1,000 a month, okay? And I simply didn't want to do that because simply wanted to save as much money as possible so that I could end up putting it into the tiny house that I'm building now as soon as we get done with this job site. Now, like I said here, this is $600 a month. Well, the same guy that owns these rentals is now renting his place right next door. Now, his place has got a really small pool, kind of a above the ground pool kind of type thing, built out of blocks. So that's how he built it instead of underground. His place is not that super nice or anything. It's probably better than average. He's an attorney, but he's renting his house. Now, it is close to the beach. I'm talking about 2 kilometers. We can walk to the beach. If you're a surfer, it's great, but it's $1,000 a month. Now, really, that's not terrible. You could get it a whole lot cheaper if you was not in a tourist area, but it is $1,000 a month, and it is furnished. So that particular one, because he was coming down here, it does have a refrigerator. It does have a stove. So it's going to be a little bit unusual, okay? And hence the reason it might be a little bit more expensive. So $1,000 a month in this area, furnished and a pool, well, that's really not a bad deal. Knowing what I know from my experience, I would never pay that. But it depends on your lifestyle and your comfort level, right? So anyway, you can find those kind of deals, just letting you know, okay? So anyway, so let's kind of get back to some of my list here. So whenever you first do come to Costa Rica, like I said, well, the first thing you got to do is get you an Uber or a vehicle, get to your place, and then in the morning, you want to be able to just kind of walk around, go into town, because the easiest way, because a lot of people always ask me, what websites do you use? Man, we're at home and we're checking out the websites and nothing comes up. Well, you're right. Nothing comes up. And look, I am an SEO expert, algorithm expert. I build websites. I've done that. That's how I make the majority of my income. I have my own web hosting company. Okay. Well, what you have to understand is that you're down in the United States, and the algorithms are going to show you the most relevant content, and they're going to show you stuff that's in the United States. And look, most Costa Ricans, those websites are so outdated, so old. But if you want to find them, here's how you find them. You need to have a VPN. I didn't put the link in there, but I will put the link in there when I get done with this live. I'll be sure to put the link in there. So a VPN is a virtual private network. Hey, after you install it, which is very, very simple, you can click on that link and you can choose from different networks. And I always choose that I'm in Florida, or I can choose that I'm in North Carolina. And by doing that, well, then I can watch PureFlix. PureFlix is a Christian-based, like Netflix movies, and if I want to watch Netflix, sometimes things in Netflix is not available here as it is in the United States, but especially for PureFlix, hey, I click on there and it says that I'm in Florida. I'm able to watch it because PureFlix is not available for Costa Rica. So I click on that and I can watch. So having a VPN is very, very essential for me, okay, and for a lot of reasons. But anyhow, in your case, you're living in Florida, Louisiana, Texas, but you're searching for a website or rental place in Costa Rica. If you have that VPN, then you can click on that and you can choose San Jose, a virtual private network in San Jose. Then your computer everything thinks that you're in Costa Rica. And then when you're searching for rental units, you're searching for houses in Costa Rica, wow, the website you've been looking for will show up. Okay. So after this live is over, I'll be sure to put that link to that VPN that I recommend using, because and it will give you a discount as well because you've used my link in order to get that VPN. So if that's good news, hey, give me a thumbs up. Put a big 10 in the chat box if you're excited about that. That'll help you. Also, there is in the description, I told you that PDF that you can download. And in that PDF that you download are some of the websites that I've used in the past when looking for rentals, okay? Bad thing about them is they're always outdated. You'll find a place that you want to rent and you'll call only to find out it's rented because they never take it down. So, but it's worthwhile to download that free PDF and you can check out some of those things and hey, you'll find some stuff, okay? So anyway, be sure to be looking for that, all right? Also, after you've been here for, let's say that you come here and you're at that Airbnb. Well, after you've been there for a while, let's say that you've rented it for a week and you're planning on being here for a month. Well, let me back up a little bit, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to rent an Airbnb for a month's time if you know you're going to be here for, 2 or 3 months. If you're in the United States, before you come, only rent it for a week so that you can find out whether you like it. You may not like it, okay, because pictures are very deceiving. You rent it, and then you get to the Airbnb, and you find out that when you get up in the morning, there's tons of noise, tons of traffic, stuff that they're not telling you about. But you rent it for a week, you find out that you do like it. Then you can talk to the owner, see if he's open to, hey, how much would it cost if you rented it for 30 days? You can find out yourself by looking at Airbnb and seeing if you can schedule the same Airbnb for 30 days so that you don't get conned, okay? And then you can talk to him and say, hey, I see that, you rent this thing out for 30 days and it says that Airbnb is $500. The last place I was at, it was $1,000 if I'd have rented it day by day, but whenever I searched it for 30 days at a time, it was $500. So you save a ton of money. Make sure you do that. Now, let's say that you stay at that Airbnb, and the reason I would only do it for a week is you could stay at that same Airbnb, but I would stay a week, and then I would walk around town, and I would go to the local restaurants, and I would eat. I would talk to the servers, talk to the different people. Hey, do you know of any locals here that are renting their house? If you find a local that's renting their house, you can get some phenomenal deals because it's not uncommon for a local to rent their house, and it's only 100,000 colones, which converts today at around 160, 170 bucks a month, or 200,000 colones for something a little nicer. So find out from the locals, right? If you're walking around, you're going to see a sign that says, si Aquila, si Aquilar. I butcher it up. It's a very strange word to me, but you will see that sign and it will, it's for rent. But look, if you see some that's for sale, don't be afraid to call up and ask them if they want to actually rent the place while it's for sale. Keep in mind, a lot of places that are for sale, the people are still living there, but some are not. And, they're selling their parents' house or whatever, and they're open to renting it because, hey, it does take a long time for things to sell in Costa Rica. So I have found some really great rentals by checking to see if they were open to rent it while they were waiting on selling it. So it's just a great way to do it. Now, of course, obviously, when you're first coming here, you don't have furniture and stuff. But if you're planning on coming here and you don't have furniture, no big deal. Let me see here. I think I got someone that came in with the live stream, and hey, they may not want to be on here live, but I'm gonna put them on there live anyway in case they do have a question, because that's the whole purpose. If you want to ask your questions live, you can if you have a good mic and camera. So anyway, I'm trying to look at all of my chats over here, and I'm looking at my questions here, and the people coming in here. Anyway, I'm gonna put this over. So anyway, whenever you do come, and you know that you're going to be here for a while, only rent for a week, but that way you walk around, you might possibly find a furnished rental. In the rural areas, it's more difficult to find a furnished rental, but you can, okay? However, you can find a empty rental, okay? And you might find a Tico house and an empty rental is only $200 a month. Well, if it's only $200 a month, instead of paying $500 a month for a furnished one, you can get an empty rental. And what we did when we first came here was that we bought some blow-up furniture. While you're in San Jose, that's the best place to buy some blow-up furniture. You can get a blow-up couch, blow-up chair, good quality blow-up mattress. Get those things. You're going to spend maybe $100 or two, and then you can live on that, okay? But then you do find a empty house, $200 or $300. Then you can buy what I call disposable furniture. So I was at the Maxi Pallet the other day, and I was debating whether I wanted to get a disposable refrigerator for the short time that I'm here, because it's very, very difficult to find used furniture, almost impossible, okay? So there was a refrigerator there, nice looking refrigerator. It even said frost free. It would have cost me about $300 for that refrigerator. Wasn't no great big one, but it wasn't a dorm refrigerator. $300, nice refrigerator. Because right now, since my vehicle's broke, I don't have a refrigerator. I don't have a stove. I got a little camp stove I went and bought, but when my vehicle is fixed, the axle broke. It's going to cost me a fortune. Hey, you can support the Get Alan's Vehicle Fix Fund. Click, click, click. Anyway, uh, hopefully, maybe next week. I've been about 3 weeks now without a vehicle. But when my vehicle's done, I'll go back to the top of the mountain. I'll bring my stove. I've got an extra small freezer that I can bring down here. I can turn it down and use it as a refrigerator. And then life will be a whole lot easier where I'm at. But hey, that's just part of being in Costa Rica. Anyway, when I'm back to disposable furniture, you can get some, a decent brand new refrigerator, $300. You can get a small stove, it ain't going to be nothing fancy, but you only pay $100 for it, or $50. So this disposable furniture that you can use, that's real cheap that you can, fill your house with while you're, looking and scouting out the perfect piece of property that you're going to buy, looking for a better rental, whatever. What we did was we bought this disposable furniture. We didn't buy a whole lot. We bought a piece at a time. That way, whenever we moved from house to house to house, we could almost put everything in just one trip. And you can always find some of the locals that'll rent out their truck, and you can put everything in their truck and move from rental to rental. And it's just not that difficult. And when you don't have a lot of stuff, it's very easy to move. Okay. So that's just a great piece of advice. You rent something that's $200, buy disposable furniture and fill it up. Okay. Buying a mattress, you can buy a good quality mattress. You definitely want a good quality mattress, and it'll cost you $200-$300. You can buy a disposable mattress. It's a cheap mattress. It's $100. You're not going to sleep good on that baby though. How do I know? I tell you. So anyway, that's what you can do. See, like right now, I've got a great mattress on top of the mountain, but I'm sleeping on an air mattress. But it's a good quality air mattress that I got at San Jose. So just tips that you can do. Okay. So probably the best way to find the best rental is actually walking around, going through town and looking for that rental. Now, here, very important right here. When you do see a rental and you're like, hey, man, this is a potential, and you see the sign and you see the number, take a photo of it with your camera, find you a good friend. I don't care who it is. You go to the restaurant, you've only been here a week. You don't know anybody. Go to the restaurant, eat. Have your server say, look, please call this number for me. Tell them you are interested in renting this house. Don't tell them you're calling for an American or a gringo that's eating here. Tell them you're interested in this rental. How much is it? I promise you, you will get it cheaper every single time. So I don't care how good your Spanish is. Now, you know what? I know that I have a guest that's here, and he is actually Tico. He's been living in the United States for a long time. He's wanting to come back, and he's doing his due diligence and searching out, what to do to live in Costa Rica, because he grew up the majority of his life in the United States. You can practically call him American. Well, he probably is. He's probably got dual citizenship. Anyway, unless you're that guy, well, he probably don't even sound Tico anymore. So my point is, I don't care how good your Spanish is, you don't want to call and get the price, because unless you can sound exactly like a Tico, they can tell that there's a gringo on the other side, and that price is going to be more than the regular price. Go to the restaurant, get your server to call and find out what that price is so that you can save money. Okay? That's very, very, very important. Now, look, if you're a knucklehead and you do call, they're going to give you the price in dollars, okay? So you're just a knucklehead. You didn't take my advice. You're going to spend more money, and if you got more money than cents, that's okay. But they're going to quote you the price in dollars, okay? And that's because the dollars are always worth more. You should never, 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 did I say never? You should never pay your rent in dollars, okay? While Costa Rica does accept the dollars, okay, you have to think about this logically. If they rent their house to a local, are they going to say that the house is $200 a month? No, they're going to tell them, oh, it's 100,000 colones a month. Okay. But if they see an American or a gringo, they're going to say $200 a month, because you're going to always overpay, because the colono rate fluctuates so much. So this month you might end up paying $190, and the colono rate really drops. Next month, it's really only $160. But if you're paying in dollars, you're overpaying every single month. Whereas if you're paying what they asked for, the normal price, they're not being gypped. They're not being cheated. They're actually getting paid what they normally ask. And so that's where everybody's on the same playing field. That's where everything is honest and everything is fair. Always, always pay in colones. Now, there are rare times that you're not going to be able to pay in colones like where I'm at now. It's a touristy area. Now, you know what? I kind of was in a hurry to get here, and I knew it was only going to be here for a little while. And so I made the calls, and I didn't even take my own advice, but that's because I knew I wasn't going to be here but a short time. I'm willing to bet, and I didn't think about it till today. I started to get my buddy to call and find out how much the house next door was, because I guarantee he's a Tico. I guarantee it, the guy wouldn't have told him $1,000 a month. And I wanted to kind of give you that comparison today, but I didn't have time. Anyway, that's just the truth of the matter, so have a Tico call, and that way you can pay in colones. A lot of places will be adamant that you have to pay in dollars, and you just tell them, look, I live in Costa Rica. I don't have dollars. All my money is in colones. You give me the price in colones. What is it every month in colones? I'm going to find another place to rent. Guarantee you. He'll say, oh, okay, it's 100,000 colones, okay? Pay in colones, okay? Don't get gypped, because unfortunately, you just have a lot of, unethical people, and that's in every country. It just happens a whole lot in Costa Rica, so that you want to pay in colones, okay? Let me get off of that soapbox. Anyway, if you do find a place and you're like, okay, I think I want this place, well, here's a few things you need to look for before you rent, okay? So this is important. When you're driving up and down the street, you want to go look at the electrical poles. And if you look at the electrical poles, you're going to see this box. It's about this big. It's about 9 by 9, 6 by 6. So there's this green beige looking box, and look for that box. That box is where the internet goes in. That's usually the internet for Colaby or, EC, which is the government-owned internet. But that's a good indicator that they have internet in that area. Just because you see that box doesn't mean you'll get internet, because that little box, all the ports might be full. You might not be able to get internet. But that doesn't mean, even if it's full, doesn't mean that there's not other internet. When you download that PDF that's in the description, well, there's links to some of the most popular internet providers, and which one you should not get internet from, because they're the worst. But then there's also, providers. So anyway, there's numbers there that you can call and suggestions, what I suggest you do. So that's an easy indicator to say, oh, look, there's that box Alan was talking about. They probably got internet. The more further away you get from the center of town, the less opportunity that you're going to actually see that box, okay? But it still doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to find that box, or that you can't get internet. There's lots of different alternatives, because there's wireless, which is worse. It's just not good signal. But anyway, there's lots of different opportunities. And then you have people that will sell their internet, and they're selling the same way I do. And it's coming from tower to tower, to where they've got a tower in town, and they shoot it up to the mountain, and then they're shooting it down to you at your house, wherever you're at in, some remote area. So there's lots of different opportunities, but you got to know what to say and know who to ask to get that kind of internet, okay? Now, a huge place, or a great place to find rentals, is by going to a feria. A feria is simply the produce market, or where you get a lot of fresh vegetables and produce. Almost every little community has a feria one day a week, and you can go there. Everybody's selling all of their stuff. And that's a great place to hang out. Get there early, leave late, talk to different people, find out, do they know anybody, get some phone numbers. And you can usually find a place to rent by just hanging out at the ferry that whole day, okay? So that's, write that down. That's a place that you want to go hang out at. And look, all you got to do is go to the restaurant, go to the store, ask them, hey, what day's the ferry? Where is the ferry? And that way, and that's a great place to buy a lot of your produce, because you'll get it cheaper there than you will anywhere else, okay? So just keep in mind that, the further away you get from any of the cities or any tourist areas, the more difficult it is to find furnished rental. But it's really not a big deal, because you get rentals so cheap, you can fill it full of disposable furniture, okay? Also, I'm ticking off a few things that I've already talked about here. So now we were talking about before you rent, you found a place that you like. You're looking to see if there's internet. Okay. Well, the next thing you do is go inside and look around. And the first thing you want to do is, where's the breaker box? Okay. Because all of these Tico houses, in the United States, the breaker box is usually inside the closet. There's no closet. It's going to be on the wall. It won't be hard to find. But look inside the breaker box. I'm telling you, you will be shocked, because in the United States, you might have 30 breakers in there, because we always divide up rooms and we divide up the kitchen and stuff. But I've gone into Tico houses where there's 2 breakers. And so they'll have all of their plugs on one breaker, all of the lights on one breaker. So you want to look at the breaker box, because I've actually rented a house, gone in. That was before I knew to look at the breaker box. Put in my computers, and it only had 2 or 3 monitors. My computers were, everyone hooked up. Anyway, the lights start flickering because we were pulling too much power and it was overloaded. So, you want to inspect that breaker box. And if it's only got a few breakers, find out if they're willing to put in more breakers, in which usually is not going to happen. But I did have one guy do that, because we had already rented it, and he had the skills to do that. So anyway, that's my point, is look at the breaker box to find out. While you're looking at the breaker box, take a moment to go into the bathroom. When you go into the bathroom, inspect the bathroom. Is there a suicide shower head? Turn on the water, because, some people, not many, some people will have instant hot water, and it's electrical instant hot water. I've never seen anyone that had a propane instant hot water. That's what I've got on top of the mountain, is propane hot water. But anyway, you're looking to see, do you have hot water in the shower? Keep in mind, if you're close to the beach like I am here, a lot of houses don't have hot water. Do you really need it? Not really, because it's not that cold. But look, call me a wimp. I don't like taking a cold shower. A lot of times I'm taking a shower and it's late at night, it's raining, it's cool, and I don't want to take a cold shower. So you want to find out, because 99% of the houses in Costa Rica, the only, and I say only place that you're going to find hot water is going to be in the bathroom. And that's not even the bathroom sink. It's going to be in the shower. Okay. So that's the only place to have hot water. Once again, that's because electricity is so expensive. So keep in mind, the closer you are to the beach, the less odds it's going to have hot water. The higher up the mountain, look where I'm at now in the mountain. The few people that live near me, none of them have hot water, but that's because they don't have electricity as well. Okay. So anyhow, just something for you to remember. So you're looking at that breaker box, you're checking out to see if they have hot water. If they don't have a suicide shower up there, check and see if somewhere on that wall, do they have a place where a wire is coming out so that you can install a suicide shower head, okay? Or ask the owner if they're willing to run a wire so that you can have hot water, okay? Because some of them will run that wire, because it's just one wire, so that you can have hot water, okay? Now, another thing, in the United States, we're used to all having a washer and a dryer. But in the United States, 99% of the people don't have a dryer. Once again, it's very expensive. So when you're looking inside that rental, take a look and see, hey, where does the washer and dryer go? Where's that hookup, okay? Because most houses are not going to have a place to plug up a dryer, and that's simply because that's 220. 220 draws a lot of electricity. But they will have a place to put your washer. Most of the time, that washer and dryer spot is going to be outside, okay? So that's important for you to know about. And if you got a nice washer dryer, it could get stolen from being outside, okay? Just something that you need to know about. And so anyway, you want to be sure to look, where is that at, so that you can determine whether you can. And look, buying a cheap washer, you can get a cheap washer here so that you can fill up your cheap apartment. But you'll find that the neighbors, if you don't want one, you can take your clothes to the neighbors. And right now, I take my clothes. Of course, I don't have many clothes. And I take it down the street to the lady. She washes my clothes about once every couple of weeks. And hey, you know what it cost me? 5,000 colones. She washes. hangs my clothes on the line, folds it up, puts it back in my bag, and I pick it up. Okay, so you don't have to have a washer and dryer right at first. Okay, now one final thing, when you're getting ready to rent that house and you're like, yes, I like this house. It's got great electricity. It's got a hot water. It's got, it's what I need. This one here is a little tough. If at all possible, ask them if you can spend the night. Spend one night there. Get you a blow-up mattress. Spend one night in there. And the reason you want to do that is because you're going to go to sleep at nighttime. And if you don't do this, you're going to go to sleep, and your first night, Friday night, the music, right? The neighbor next door, they're having loud music. They might have loud music every night. So you want to find out, because, most places when you rent, the houses are right next door. And maybe every evening you just happen to be at grandma's house where the whole family comes and it's all talking, it's all music, and you might not have any peace and quiet. You might find out the neighbor's next door, he leaves in the morning and the dogs have an anxiety attack, and 5 dogs, and that will go on for 2 hours. Okay, it's important to find out. One house I rented, look, I know you're not going to believe this, but one house I rented, every morning the neighbor came and put his fighting roosters on my clothesline. And so then I had 5 fighting roosters out there that was crowing every morning. Dude, you want to find out what's going to happen whenever you're trying to go to sleep or when you're sleeping at 5 o'clock in the morning. So if at all possible, you need to spend the night so that you can find out what it's going to be like. Okay, so now, also, before you rent, you've decided you like it, tell them that you're interested, but you're going to come back tomorrow or whatever. Go to several restaurants. Go eat lunch, go eat supper to the restaurants that are nearby to that house, and ask them, what do they think about the neighborhood? Okay, because you know what? You have petty theft almost everywhere, but some neighborhoods are just worse than others. Okay, and so one place we rented, and it was after we rented, we're moving stuff in, we go eat, and boy, the person at the restaurant said, oh man, you rented in a bad neighborhood. And while the neighborhood looked nice and everybody's got fences, they said there's lots and lots of petty theft there. And if I'd have gone just 2 more kilometers up the street, it was a much nicer neighborhood with not nearly as much theft. So it's important to talk to, the locals. Go into the store, buy something, ask them, what do you think about the neighborhood? Go to the restaurant, eat. What do you think about this neighborhood? Find out from them so that you kind of get an idea. Because, hey, while we was eating at that restaurant, found out it was a bad neighborhood, they were stealing my stuff at the house that we were moving in. True story, okay? And we had put all of our stuff on the back porch that had bars on it, but they just reached through there and with a pole and drug everything stole a ton of my tools. So important, find out about the neighborhood, okay? So, hey, and before you rent, find out, hey, whose responsibility is it to cut the grass, okay? Is that your responsibility? Because you don't want to move to Costa Rica, now you got to cut grass. Although if it's your responsibility, it's very, very cheap to pay one of the locals that's going to come in there with their weed whacker or weed eater and cut the grass, okay? So find out whose responsibility is to cut the grass, okay? Hey, is electricity included in renting that house? What is included, what's not? Most of the time, water's included, but not always. But when water's included, it's usually because they're getting their water from a local creek, okay? Find out about that. Most of the time, if you are living in a rural area, almost never have I had to sign a contract, okay? And that's simply because they don't know about it. The people that ask you to sign a contract, it's usually because they've been to the United States, they had to sign a contract there, so they try to implement the same thing here. And most of the time I say, look, I'm not going to rent, I'm not going to sign a contract, because most of the time I get into a place, and if it's a horrible place, then guess what? I'm going to move. But if it's like you say, and it's nice, then guess what? I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to probably be here for at least a year. But no, I'm not going to sign a contract. If they're adamant that you got to sign a contract, you can normally work a discounted price. Okay. If they're adamant and you really, really want it, okay, then it's time to talk to them and say, okay, I'll sign a contract for a year, but I'm not going to give you 200,000 colones. I'm going to give you 150,000 colones. And then they'll normally do it because you're going to be there for a whole year. So work with them on that. But most of the time, I think I've only signed one contract in the stinking 9 years that I've been here, okay? And most of the time, you never have to put down a deposit. Keep in mind, that is not the same as when you're in a touristy area. I had to put down a $600 deposit here, okay? And you know what? Almost 99% of the time, you'll never get that deposit back because they will spend that money. But you can just don't pay the last month, and in that way, that deposit will take care of your last month, okay? All right, so just something for you to know about. Tourist areas, it is different. They're used to a lot of gringos coming, and they're used to doing the contract and the deposit, okay? Now, let me take a quick look, okay? Now, before you do rent, or once you've decided to rent, you've worked everything out, some very important things that you do need to know. You need to ask them, what is the physical address? Because it's important to note that Costa Rica does not have a 911 address system. So whenever you're renting, you know, you need the actual physical address is normally going to be something like, 50 meters north of the post office, 50 meters north of the super pulperia or whatever, on the left-hand side with the dog chained to the fence, okay? It's weird addresses, and you need to know what that address is so that if you order takeout or whenever you go and you're to the post office, whatever you're getting, you need to know what that local address is, okay? Also, you want to ask them, what is the account number for the electricity? Because you're not going to get the electricity put in your name. That never happens in Costa Rica until you buy your own place. You want to ask them, what's the account number and whose name is the account in? And you want to do the same thing for the water, and don't assume that the name, the account number is obviously going to be different than the account number for the electricity. Don't assume the name for the water is going to be the same name as electricity. And that way, get the correct name, because when you go to pay it, you can pay it almost any of the little bitty pulperias or convenience stores, go to the bank, and you can pay it. You'll give them the account number, and then the person behind the counter is going to say, is this in so-and-so's name? That way that you can confirm that you're paying the right bill and you're not paying someone else's bill. So it's very important to get the account number and the name so that you can pay that bill and you're not paying the wrong one. Okay, so very, very important. Now, you can also pay that. Most cases, you can pay that electric and water online, but that's only after you get a Costa Rican bank account, okay? So, which you probably won't do when you first get here, okay? Hey, you also want to ask about trash pickup, because not all places have trash pickup. And so, if they don't have trash pickup, that means the neighbors are burning their trash. Woo! That's a stinky situation, because remember, Costa Ricans don't flush their toilet paper. It all goes in the poo can right next to the poo can. And they burn that trash every day. And boy, it just simmers and stinks. Oh, that's nasty, nasty, nasty. And of course, you want to ask them, are you able to flush your toilet paper? Because most of them you can't, okay? Anyway, something. And you also want to ask, hey, where's the closest bus stop? Because if you don't have transportation, what's really, really great about living in Costa Rica is you don't have to have transportation. The public transportation is awesome. It's phenomenal. And the reason it's so good is that a lot of, I'd say half the people in Costa Rica don't have a vehicle or don't have a motorcycle, and they're using public transportation all the time. So, that's just super good information for you to know about, is that where is that bus stop? And do you actually have a schedule? The locals know the schedules, but I've never used it enough to know the schedule. Okay. And I don't like to sit out there and just wait. All right. So those are some important topics for you to know about. And hey, that's everything that I have on my list to actually talk about. So, hey, let me come in here and take a look at some of these questions. Okay. So what questions do you have? And I'm going to scroll through there. So, hey, if you've got a question and you just put it in there right now, so it's right at the bottom and I can find it quickly and answer your question. But, renting in Costa Rica can just really be a lot of fun. Okay. And I've enjoyed it. I've rented so many different places, but it's given me the opportunity, if I stay light, to just go from place to place and really find out what is the best place to be at. Okay. So, so let me come over here and I'm going to take a look at some of these questions. And hey, here's Martin. Martin says, speaking of buying a car versus renting a car for the month, what hurdles are there for Americans and Canadians with license and insurance requirements? Great question, Martin. So, when you come here and you rent or buy a vehicle, you don't have to go and get outside insurance. Now, there are some rental places that's going to con you and they're going to force you to buy some sort of outside insurance, because your insurance from the United States, no matter how much you say my insurance covers it, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So they're going to try to con you, which makes the rental of your vehicle way, way, way more expensive. That's why it's always better. Come here, go to one of the local used car dealerships, buy a vehicle. When you buy a vehicle, it automatically will have insurance on it. Every single vehicle has insurance. Everybody has to get insurance from INS, okay? And that's a government-owned insurance. There is no such thing as going down to the local insurance dealer. That's not like the United States. Everybody gets insurance at the same place. You could just get the minimum insurance and you're safe. So it's not difficult at all. The only hurdle that you're going to run into is that when you buy that vehicle, you go to a used car lot, he's going to recommend an attorney or find an attorney so that he'll take care of all of the paperwork so that you can get that. So I hope that answers your question there, Martin. Hey, welcome, Doug. A whole lot of people that I recognize, so I'm so glad that y'all are here. And I'm going to take a look at some of these things right here. Got some good input. Hey, there's some good questions in here that's kind of not on topic, but I'm going to come back around to some of those questions. I want to make sure to answer all those that are about renting first, okay? Doug brought up a good point. He says, he has solar hot water with electrical backup, okay? And they've never had to turn on the breaker for that. So that's something else, and I didn't bring up. Glad you put that in there, Doug. When you're looking, because I said go look for that suicide shower head. Well, if you step back and look on top of the house, you'll see this big rack and it's got these long poles in it. Well, that is the solar hot water. So solar hot water is great. And if they've got one of those, doesn't cost you anything. That's included, okay? So if you happen to find a house that has solar hot water, and look, you can, whenever you decide to buy your own, you can buy it. I think it's like a couple of $1,000s, between $1,000 and $2,000. Hey, Doug, maybe you can throw that in the chat. How much did you pay for your solar hot water unit to put on your house? So solar hot water is a great alternative. Doesn't cost a whole lot of money. And hey, like Doug said, his has always worked. Never has had to turn on the breaker, okay? And hey, yeah, so M says, make sure you convert your money before you arrive. You don't necessarily have to convert your money before you arrive, but what you can do is as soon as you arrive, you can go into any of the banks. Hey, if your bank has the ability to convert it, then great. If not, as soon as you get here, go to a bank, and you don't have to convert your money. Just think and get your ATM card, go to the ATM machine, and withdraw colonas. So you can go into any ATM machine and the ATM fees are not expensive at all. So, you take, that's what I did. I just go to the ATM machine and put in that I want, 300,000 colonas, 200,000 colonas. And now you got all of this colonas without ever having to go into the bank. Because when you go into the bank, man, that's a nightmare. You might be there 2 hours and you go in there and you're like, I got $500 I want to convert into colonas. And then they're like, I got to see your passport. Where's that money coming from? Are you laundering money? Come on, I just want to convert this. Pain in the butt, okay? So just go to the ATM machine and withdraw colonas. I hope that answers your answer, M. Hey, true story, okay? So anyway, Okay, hey, Doug has a good one here. He says, good info. He says, when you're starting out in Costa Rica, start out with a small unit and find your zone. Absolutely. Good point, Doug, because, whenever you're coming here, man, you don't know. You're like, I want to live at the beach, only to find out it's way too hot, too stuffy. You go up to the mountains, oh, I love it, or vice versa. So, until you find the right area, man, try to be light. Try to be light, okay? And hey, thanks, Martin. That is the word you're looking for. And I don't know how you pronounce it, but anyway, it will actually, on the front of it, it will be S-E, say, Aquilar. Anyway, whatever that word is, you're looking for a big old sign that says S-E, Aquilar, and that's a rental sign, okay? Oh, well, look, here it is. There's where he put it in there correctly. So there you go. Wow, now this is interesting. Check out Doug. He says in his area. Now, Doug is over in Montezuma, and that's over on the Nicoya Peninsula. Over on the Nicoya Peninsula, he says a lot of homes have dryers. Wow. Now, see, I didn't know that because I don't rent where there's a lot of tourists, or I don't rent American homes. But see, those American homes, they have dryers, okay, because Americans are building them to those specifications. A Tico home is not going to have a dryer, and it's not going to have a place to plug up one, okay? So there you go. That gives you an idea. So he says in our area, Montezuma, there's a lot of homes that have dryers. If you need one, if you're renting your house, it's quicker than turning around for renters from day-to-day laundry. That's right. So anyway, hey, I'm glad you put that in there, Doug. That's an extremely good point, okay? Let's see here. I'm going to come back around to that question. So I'm taking a look at all of these questions. Really great questions, and I really appreciate it. So let me scroll down here because I think I've covered all of them. Look right here. Bill says, he says, do many houses in Costa Rica have solar panels on the roof? No, not a whole lot of them. Very few of them have solar panels on the roof. Okay, I've got solar panels on my place, and of course, I'm way up the mountain where there is no electricity. And so, your only options for electricity is either to put in a Pelton, which is a water generator, or to have solar panels. And I've got solar panels on my roof. Okay, so you're not going to find a lot of houses with solar panels. You'll find businesses, and so it's well worth it to invest in solar panels whenever you do come down. Okay, and I've got some videos that talk about all of that, so you can check some of those things out. Hey, Martin tries to help me out. And this is really great. Let me put that up here. I think it's funny because I butchered up. He says that's how you pronounce C. Alcalar. Alcalar. Okay, I probably still messed it up. Anyway, that's what you're looking for. Okay, and hey, look, Doug answered, and he says the solar hot water unit cost him 5 years ago around $1,500. It could be cheaper now because it's a lot easier to find solar. And not only will it be cheaper now than 5 years ago, the Kelowna rate is so much lower, okay? Because when I first came here, the Kelowna rate was around $500 or 500 to the dollar, okay? So now the Kelowna rate today, I'm looking, is $621. And the Kelowna rate had gotten horrible. It was way up there at 700, 900. It was horrible, but it's starting to kind of stabilize and come back. It was really horrible during the elections. It was horrible. But it was good for me because, the exchange rate. But for the Ticos, the Kelowna rate was horrible. So the higher the Kelowna rate is, the cheaper it is to buy stuff. And so, a couple of years ago, I actually did a video on the cost of living in Costa Rica. And I said, can you live on $1,000 a month? Which you can. Probably not advisable because you're going to be living like a Tico, because Ticos live on $500 a month. But anyway, it's actually cheaper today, your cost of living, than it is a couple of years ago when I did that video, because the exchange rate has dropped so much. So anyway, that's just really important for you to understand about or to know about, okay? So now I think I've answered all of the questions. If you do have a rental question, hey, put it in there right now. because I'm going to start answering all of the other questions that you might have. And as always, I try to answer every single question. Okay, so let me come through here. And hey, someone asked a really great question. Lewis says, how much does it cost to dig a well if you buy land? You know, I don't know how much that costs, but there's several ways you can do that. You can actually get professionals to come out there, bring in a machine and a truck and dig you a well. I really don't know how much that costs. Doug might know. If someone that's here knows, hey, put an answer in the chat box for me so that I can share that info. But I know my dentist, okay, my dentist actually paid some Ticos to hand dig a well. Now, obviously, if you got someone that's going to hand dig a well, it is going to be a shallow well. However, you can still have a shallow well and have filters and it still be very clean water, okay? Especially if you're up in the mountains, okay? So those are the options. You can hand dig a well yourself, hire someone because labor is very cheap. You can have that well hand dug, or you can have an actual outfit come and do it yourself, okay? But you do need to know that Costa Rica has some kind of weird things about getting approval for, you know, having your wells dug and stuff. Does everybody do that? No, and I'm not telling you to do that, but the majority of the Ticos that dig a well, they will hand dig their wells, and they're not getting any kind of permits. They just digging their well, okay? I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just letting you know what some of the normal stuff happens here. Okay, here's a really good question from Adrian. Look, straight up, we know we're going to get the Gringo Price to start. Yes, just accept it, okay? I've been here 9 years. I still get gringoed, okay? Is it possible to find a Tico to help you find rental when you get there, or are we opening up ourselves to be taken advantage by his help? Yes and yes. Okay, now there are some good Ticos, okay? There are. They're very difficult to find, but, you know, the best thing is to do what I say. Take a picture of it, go to the restaurant, have the server make the phone call for you. That is going to be the best way to do it. Unfortunately, you get a Tico to help you. He's going to go find you a rental, and he's going to find a rental that normally would cost $200 a month, and then he's going to come back and rent it to you for $300 a month because he's going to work out a deal with the owner and say, okay, I've got this guy that's going to rent it, and I'm going to charge him $300 a month, and you're going to pay me $100 a month every month while he's here. It just happens. Just know it happens. Know you're going to get gringoed. It's part of life in Costa Rica, okay? Hey, it's just part of it, okay? I don't like it. It's the thing I hate the most, okay? Hey, check out this right here. Yep, Doug was actually saying that, hey, he was replying to someone. Doug is very helpful. A lot of people, I just love the people that show up because they're helping everything. And Lewis says, hey, Alan does have a video on solar hookup and what, you know, and who I actually used. That was from San Jose. And contact him for some pricing for batteries for his neighbor, and he was very reasonable. So, hey, I'm so glad that actually helped Doug out because, yes, absolutely, search my channel. And, you know, because I'm showing what I do as I build my tiny house and all the stuff that I'm doing and all the contacts I make. Because, look, I hate getting conned, and I had one guy try to charge me $10,000 for some solar batteries. No, not some, a solar battery. I'm like, wait a minute. Man, I must have stupid written across my forehead. There ain't no way in the world I'm going to pay $10,000 for one solar battery. Now, do they actually have those that much in the United States? I don't know, but I wasn't about to pay one because the solar batteries I got was $1,000. And I got two solar batteries, I got two batteries, lithium, best ones out there, and 6 panels, and my two batteries were $1,000 a piece. Man, imagine I got one battery for $10,000. Dude, I just don't have more money than sense, okay? I got some sense. Anyway, okay? Hey, check out Doug. He says he has 6 panels that runs their DC pool pump, and this way they don't have to use power to keep their pool clean. Super good idea. And look, buying those panels and getting that stuff hooked up is not that expensive, okay? All right, so I'm kind of scanning through here to take a look. And Lewis did ask a question asking how many solar panels you need for a typical Tico house. we're talking typical Tico house. You can easily get by on, I got 6 on mine, okay? And 6 is what I would tell you to do. But a typical Tico house, I know some Ticos that live in the area where I'm at, okay, where there's very few houses, and they have 1 solar panel. 1 solar panel. Now, keep in mind that 1 solar panel only gives them lights and runs the TV for maybe an hour, but they got 1 solar panel and 1 battery. 1 solar panel, 1 battery, and they pay, I think, 1,000 colones a month to have that because it's provided by EC, okay? 1 solar panel, 1 battery, and it gives them lights for nighttime, you know, until they go to bed, and they watch the TV for a little while. So I'm just telling you what is possible. Now, for you trying to run your laptop, trying to run, you know, or trying to run a computer like I got, it's probably not going to last very long. But I'm telling you what's possible. And of course, Martin says he's seen a few houses with solar hot water, and he's guessing that configurations are limited with how large the system is and how many sunny days. And yes, you are correct on there, but they do work pretty good, okay? And so most of the time in Costa Rica, unless you're at a very high altitude, it's almost always going to work. But do like Doug does, where he's got a backup system in case his hot water doesn't work, he can flip a switch, okay? But in this case, you know, even in the rainy season, you're going to have the majority of the day where it's sunny, and a good solar system, that water's still going to be warm in the evening. So just good stuff for you to know. All right. I think, hey, Lewis brings up a good point. You know, if inflation continues to destroy people's savings, I think that South America and Central America will be flooded by retirees from all over the world. And I agree with you completely, okay? Hey, here's a good question. M says, what is Uvita like? Uvita is kind of an up-and-coming place. It's been kind of a touristy area in a while, but more and more people are moving there. And when I say up-and-coming, it's because it's further south. Like any tourist area, it's going to be expensive the closer you are to town, okay? However, you can find places that's on the outskirts of town. So anyway, Uvita is really not a bad place at all to be at, okay? And, you know, I've gone through there a whole lot, but I've not ever lived in Uvita. So I can't tell you what it's like to live there, but I've been there a lot, in and out, visited the church that's down there, visited people down there. So anyway, I think Uvita is a fairly good place to live, okay? Okay, here, Renee asked a good question. Does Costa Rica charge the same import amount for electric vehicles? I hear that they are working on something or another. I don't have the facts, just a word through the monkey vine that Costa Rica wants more and more electrical vehicles. And so it's supposed to, they're making it easier, and they want everybody to have electrical vehicles. You know, Costa Rica has always been pushing green, and I'm starting to see them put in more and more charging stations for vehicles. So, hey, I couldn't answer that question, but I do know that the import fees are crazy high to get a vehicle here. However, you know, if you're coming to Costa Rica and you're coming to live here and you get your residency, once you get your residency, they do have the new law established that you can import 2 vehicles. And whether you choose to import a plane and a car, or a plane and a helicopter, or a plane, a boat, you know, 2 vehicles, it's not going to cost you anything to import them. Okay, so if you've got an electric vehicle and you got 2 electrical vehicles, you can get those import and duty free. So real important note for you when it comes to importing in any vehicle, and especially if you got an electric vehicle, okay? All right, and she also says that she is moving in December. So congratulations. When you get here, make sure to give me a shout out, okay? And if you're wanting to go out for supper, hey, you can invite me for supper. I love to meet people, have supper and apple juice, and share whatever information you would like to learn about. So anyway, just some food for thought, okay? Because I need food for thought. All right. And look, thanks so much, Doug. Doug says, hey, look, we got 27, 25 people watching. Make sure you hit that like button. You know, your engagement is tremendous and really helps a whole lot. You know, and of course, you know, I'm always grateful, and I always like to shout out to the members in our members only community. It's only $10 a month. That's 33 cents a day. You can always donate by hitting the $ in the comment box down there. Great appreciate it. But I always love to just shout out to my members, you know, like Doug. You know, Doug from Canada, he's one of our members. You know, there's a lot of members that's inside our members only area. And I really appreciate, you know, it's just a great way to support me because I don't have a Patreon. And by support me inside the members only area, well, you get lots of important stuff inside that members only area. Especially, man, I have come across some really phenomenal real estate deals, and I'm trying to put those inside the members only area. Matter of fact, there's a house inside there now that is crazy, great deal. And it's in the San Ysidro area. And so you can take a look at that house inside the members only area. I hope somebody swoops that up real soon because that's a phenomenal deal. It was actually an American who built it. So it wasn't built by Tico standards, although it's still kind of a Tico style, but not Tico style house, but it has more bedrooms, I think 2 bathrooms, you know, so great place to actually look at. So, hey, I'm getting good input, very valuable information. And hey, thanks everybody. But I think I've answered all of those questions. And unless you've got anything else, I think we're gonna wrap it up. So hey, thanks everybody for showing up. I've had a phenomenal time. Always enjoy sharing valuable information. Don't forget that PDF download. It's in the link in the description. So go to the description below, download that PDF. And that PDF is going to give you a lot of great, valuable information, links to some of the real estate websites that I've used in the past. Keep in mind that some of them are outdated, but I'm working on a secret. I'm working on something that I think is going to help people with real estate. And so anyway, but it does take a while. So I'm hoping that that'll be valuable. Okay. Anyway, just kind of a secret that I'm working on. All right. Anyway, hey, lots of great input. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate you for showing up. And, hey, I try to do this every Sunday. I did miss last Sunday because I just did not have the setup because I'd moved into this place. But now that I'm set up, hopefully I can actually do one every Sunday. I love to be able to share this information. Doug says he's still looking for a house over in the Sarchi or San Ramon area. So, hey, great. Thank you so much. Y'all enjoy the rest of your day. I look forward to seeing you next Sunday. Until then, enjoy life in Costa Rica.